Okay, that was a very heavy session, so I think ours is going to be a little lighter. Yeah, so welcoming all of you, and thank you for being here. You have all just been introduced, but I think we can do a quick round again. To my left is Neetu Jotwani. She is a founder of a new age company called Sands of India. And it's going to be lovely to have a perspective because she is a unique one, at least on this panel. Because immediately after that, we have the brand head of Life Lauren, Shubhi. And we've joined with Harita. She is the CPO Benetton. We have Jyotishman from Reebok. We have Rajiv Bajaj from Jack & Jones. And we have Yogesh from Tommy Hilfiger. So this is going to be a very interesting brand because we have literally 5 legacy and 1 startup. And the conversation is really interesting. It's about winning Gen Z and Gen Alpha. I think the reality of India is this is literally more than half of our population today. And we know that as it matures, literally today is at 55%. And even to say that, okay, you know, Gen Z today between 12 to 28, not a lot of them are at work right now. One could assume that, yes, you know, serious work only starts after 22, 23. But very soon, the impact of this cohort on India and our Indian consumption is going to be phenomenal. I mean, all logic says that. So given that, we're going to talk today of how we can win over these cohorts. And why is this conversation so relevant? It is so relevant because these cohorts are like none other. Today's Gen Z and Gen Alpha are so tech savvy. They have grown up in a tech environment. They have internet at the tip of their fingers. They are so exposed that their wants are completely different. They have a very, very unique personality. So for these digital natives who want everything that is hyper-personalized, they want it instantly accessible, and they want seamless experiences, while wanting all of that, they also have their own very, very strong evolving values of sustainability, inclusivity, social responsibility, and being highly community prone. So we have to figure how we can even begin to win them over. So today's panel is going to dive into how we could do that, to unlock the secrets in finding their risk, and how we're going to slay the game. So that's the point in their language. Okay, so moving over to you, Harita, we're going to start with you. You have, yes, another legacy brand with you, Benetton, which is, yes, very established. We'd like to know from you, how is it that you're even looking at modifying your offering to win over these cohorts?
Okay, I know we are time bound, and I would like to start by saying in Gen Alpha language, I'm a certified yapper, so please stop me. Yes, there's a lot of work being done for Gen Z and Gen Alphas, and we have a lot of Gen Zs working for us. So especially when you work in a creative field, design, it's always good to have the young generation. And sometimes you are in awe of them, sometimes you really respect them, and sometimes you're dumbfounded by how different they are. You know, like there are things that millennials would have done, which Gen Zs cannot stand. And now that you are simple, sick leaves, okay? So they'll come, and there are a lot of memes that say, I'm really sick of working, so I'm taking a sick leave, okay? So when people are behaving in that manner, their lifestyles are changing, you have to talk to them in their language. You have to design things, or any industry that you're in, whether it's apparel or beauty, you have to give them the products that satisfy their lifestyle needs. Right. And as you know, Benetton actually stands for a lot of color, and we do a lot of iconic colors, which are bright primary colors. They used to do phenomenally well for us. But we started seeing that the younger generation is actually moving to monotones, very subdued tones, but they are so individualistic that there's a lot of graffiti culture where you're speaking your voice. They're very confident. They can say anything to you on your face without being, sorry about saying something, you know. Right. So we saw a lot of street culture picking up, whether it's oversized bodies, boxy shapes that are doing really well. If you kind of have slogans, you know, we've quickly changed from love the world, peace, to being like Dululu is the new Sululu, you know. And so that's how they're changing. And we've got an excellent response in that. So they're not sorry about anything. They're super confident. And the other thing is that body positive is a big thing with them.
Right.
And it's not just body positive. And traditionally, as a brand, inclusivity is in us. You know, we've been talking about same-sex couples since the brand many years ago, which it was not an open conversation here. We've been talking about big sizes. We've kind of it for them. It's like you know, it's normal to you stand for yourself. It's very individual personalities, and that's what we are trying to bring in our clothes also to them. So for us, it's not something different, but yes, the magnitude of it is changing. So we are doing much more of that, what we used to. And in fact, when I come to, because we are short on time, I'll quickly move to Gen Alpha, which one of my teammates gave a presentation. So actually, I have a 10-year-old, which like over the years, I've been seeing how things have changed. So if you see, COVID changed all of us. So this quick transformation has actually happened during the COVID period, where not too much physical activity was happening, but everybody was on WhatsApp groups. Even the kids had to do their classes online. And you couldn't do screen time locks. You can't stop them from WhatsApp because school is happening. So they are exploring much more. They are really onto real time. And a lot of digital games were happening. So when we are talking about our kids wear, which does phenomenally well for us, the changing game was, along with the physical sports, we always do a collection where you will see digital sports, you'll see space stories, you'll see things that are, you know, they can touch and feel. They kind of, because today's kids are not really going by their parents' opinions. The parents are not buying for them. They are buying for themselves. In fact, a colleague of mine was telling me that, you know, the kids go to the store and they don't look at the garment for more than 10, 15 seconds. And if they don't like it, what will they say? Skibbity.
Oh, wow.
And put it aside. So you can't convince them. You better be on the spot on what you're offering to them. And you better give them what they can kind of understand, talk to them in their language. So I think there's no escaping it. And it's really fun to see how times are changing, and they are very positive in their attitude. Yes, with confidence, they also have a very individualistic style, which might be different from the millennials. But now, because they're growing, they're going to be a biggest share of your consumers. So, you know, the brands have to take that into account and keep your legacy, but I would say tweak it with the time. So if you enter a Benetton store, it's still a Benetton store, but you still made those changes to adjust to the consumer needs.
Right. You know, but before we move on, I want to ask you something. You've been with Benetton for a while, so when you make the statement, it is with a lot of authority. So have you seen the Gen Alpha, the way that they are getting into the decision making a little different than what it was with the prior generations?
Yes, there is a lot of change. There are change in styling also, how they are buying. I feel actually more than being with Benetton as a mother and having cohorts, I mean groups of kids that are around, I would say, like, I'll give you an example of girls, okay? Gone are the days where the girls used to want to dress only in pink and very pretty princess. Today they are going into sporty wear and they are making their own decisions. So no matter how much collection I put in, mothers want their girls to look like princes, but girls don't want to look like princesses anymore. They want to look like warriors. Like, I don't want a prince.
That's actually heartening at some level.
So it's I'm very happy with the changes that we are actually seeing in our collection.
That's really good to know. Okay, so again, paucity of time, moving over to Rajiv. Rajiv, you are again with a brand that is very well established. In fact, you come from he's the product head of Jack & Jones, a very cool brand. At least that's how we've known the millennials to respond to it. But now the question is that you need to find the same kind of drip with the Gen Zs. So that's a problem statement. So do tell us how you're going about doing that.
Sure. So I think one of the statements that I kind of like really strongly believe that change is the only constant, and I think for the last 5 years the speed of that change is actually like increased a lot, like especially after COVID. So I would like to put like 3 points which I believe what we are doing as bestseller, especially to kind of connect with Gen Z. Firstly, I would say, see, it's a very different consumer mindset. Uh, like now, like gone are those days when we used to think that like a trend in Europe comes about couple of years in India.
Right.
So that's not happening. Like people who have been like you see a trend on the runway and suddenly next month it's in India. And to be honest, we have been like adapting to it very fast. I would say faster than the European countries. You look at loose fit denims, drop shoulder t-shirts, they're everywhere and a lot of adoption into Indian market. Whereas when you go to Europe, it's still a lot of people are wearing those skinny and slim fit jeans. So I think one of the things that we have actually changed with kind of being trend forward brand in India and as compared to a wholesale driven brand in Europe. See, we are doing this whole something called a brand which is Jack and Jones Originals,
Okay.
which is like a younger streetwear kind of a looking brand, and specially targeted to an audience of 15 to 25, with a very, I would say, a quirky, younger, colorful look. Uh, then also the one thing that we are trying to do right now in the Indian market is have like a sandbox approach, where we are doing like smaller MOQs, trying something fast for like a younger audience. If that works, we like do a replenishment model to it. We're also bringing fabric from China like much faster, like as compared to the Indian mills. We're like kind of airing it to India, trying to do a trend which is on the runway in the next like 60 to 90 days. We call it 60 days, but like 90 days it comes in. So we have an express budget for it and we're trying to do that. The second thing I would really like to highlight here for the Gen Z and what we are changing. See, I think, so I became the product head in 2019 for Jack and Jones. And I think I used to be like something like Jack and Jones is a very masculine brand and like we used to do a pride collection at that time. And I was like, I don't want to look at it like over my dead body types. I cannot do it types. But now I think that whole mindset is changing. Like Gen Z are becoming like everyone is talking about inclusivity and kind of those kind of things. So how we are kind of adapting to it is something we are doing a unisex kind of a range.
Right.
We're doing a range which is called ungendered. Only as a brand started it and now we are also adopting it. So that is the whole mindset change that's coming in now. So I think that is something which as a brand also we are evolving from a very masculine look kind of a brand or a very vintage, rugged kind of a brand to a much more modern, contemporary look. Thirdly, I think I would like to really add to one of the points which Harita and you were talking about. So I think for Gen Z, the idea is like it's apparel is not only apparel. They want stories. They want like something to connect with it. So it's about like when you talk about communities and cohorts, it's about like you need to give them something more than the apparel. You need to give them stories and something like how they can kind of like connect to that. So one of the things that we have done in the last couple of years is something called Artisan by Jack and Jones.
Right.
Again, trying to do that glory and India story. So we are doing like Indian crafts. We did a collection with Kutch. We did a collection which is coming in SS25 with something like block prints from Jaipur in very contemporary form, in contemporary shapes and both contemporary motifs. So, but still they use that Indian crafts. So we are trying to give them those smaller capsule stories which they can relate to.
Right.
And also a lot of like kind of thing to consume. We were, I think, one of the brands in India which did a story with esports, like how Harita was talking about for kids. We did it for menswear. We also did a story with metaverse. So we are kind of evolving and adapting to that whole Gen Z story.
That's really good to know. So I think they're teaching us to be inclusive. So there is
Yes,
a
absolutely.
lesson here which is really good to know. So yeah, okay, then moving over to Jyotishman with Reebok. So we'd like to understand, how are you going about it? How is it that you've been able to, Reebok offers products for everyone. You have a very, very varied range out there. Everybody can find something, but you still need to figure out how you're aligning with them. So how is it that you're going about doing that?
Thank you so much for the question. And Kanika, as you rightly mentioned, that this young generation is constantly engaging with technology and social media and influencer culture. So what is happening is that they are overloaded with information, and because of that, they are constantly seeking for
So true.
authenticity and transparency in every brand they
Yes.
choose. And I think to connect with these consumers, it is very important for any brand to be true for what it stands for. And through product offering, okay, yeah. So through product offering as well as through the story the brand tells, because every brand has a story to tell, and if the consumer feels connected with the story, they fall in love with the brand.
True that.
And for Reebok, it was a very typical case because Reebok has been suffering from identity crisis, prolonged identity crisis, I would say, for about 20 years. Okay, so when in 2006, Reebok was acquired by Adidas. At that time, it was a sports brand with 16 NBA team under its kitty. And then it became a fitness brand when consumers started resonating Reebok with CrossFit, training, and UFC. Then again, 2020, it changes its identity towards a lifestyle brand. Now, after acquisition of Authentic Brand Group, finally, I think Reebok got its sweet spot, and we are saying that it is now situated at the intersection of sports and lifestyle. Okay.
Right.
And being in and around sport is very important to cater to the younger consumer that we believe. But we see sport from a very different lens.
Okay.
We don't believe in winning or losing in sports.
Okay.
But instead, what we say that we celebrate all kind of movement, be it dance, run, train, yoga, and this is what our core belief is. And what we are doing, we are constantly trying to communicate this to the young consumer, again, so that about our new brand identity, so that they can feel connected with the brand. And a very good example is if you have seen the Reebok's latest campaign, what says sport is everything, and that is being run in the in this that's below the elevator. I saw this campaign is being running, and this is a very true example of how basically Reebok is trying to connect with the younger consumer. The second thing I would like to touch upon is, so this is what's happening globally. And what is happening locally in India is that we are disproportionately investing in local design and development capabilities. Okay.
Okay.
So, and I would say that as of now, I'm very proud to say that about 90% of the range that we are creating, these are created, designed, and manufactured in India.
Okay, I truly didn't know that. I
Yeah.
didn't know that 90% of the Reebok product out here is actually designed in India. That's really good to know.
Yeah, exactly. And what we are doing actually, so what we are creating all these highly technical product at a very accessible price point.
Right.
And what message we want to give it to the younger consumer is that sport, we don't believe elitism in sports, right? We believe that technical gears should be accessible for all the consumers, And there's a third point also that apart from that, apart from technical products, there's a line of, athleisure product and walking product that we are making. These are very cool product and specially crafted for the younger consumer. There is third very important point which is about sustainability, and this is happening with Reebok for years, but what I would say, we are focusing to be completely sustainable brand by 2030. Okay, so if you have purchased the Reebok product and if you have seen a R logo printed in the lining, that means 30% of the raw material of the product is recycled, okay? And
Right.
we are focusing on, recycled product as of now. And from the local perspective, if I would say, 100% of our linings are recycled polyester. 100% of our laces, webbings are recycled polyester, recycled nylon. And then we are moving into using recycled EVA, and then we are moving into eliminating the uses of adhesive while bonding the rubber to the EVA. So we are using a co-molding process. So just to sum it up, so these are very fresh initiatives that we are taking. One is constantly communicating about the new brand positioning to the younger consumer. Secondly, constantly developing the products which are unprecedented, line, and that is especially from the India creation point of view, and secondly, thirdly, the sustainability.
Right. We would love to go deeper into that, but I think paucity of time again, so we will move over to Yogesh, if we can ask you a question. So you represent literally iconic brands. I mean, both Tommy Hilfiger and CK in your kitty have very strong signatures. So it's going to be, is it something that you think you would have to do to attract these audiences? How would you change your product, which is so signature-led?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening to us for all this while and furthermore. Thank you, Kanika. Coming to the question first and finishing with all the men in one corner just makes sense. But focusing in the question once again, see, I would first want to contest whether we are legacy brands at all. I would only speak for myself in this situation.
I would like to know too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you say timeless brands, I would say we are the cool brands of all times.
Okay.
So can we be the cool brands in the next times or the coming times is the question over here, rather than
Sure
whether
thing.
it goes to Gen Z, Alpha, and tomorrow Beta as well. It doesn't stop to stay timeless. And when we address that from the beginning where Gen Z starts, all of us would agree that they are connected far more than millennials were, far more than Gen X was, and so on and so forth. They're connected to the extent that they know today at this moment what is happening. Even if they're on Instagram, they know what is happening on TikTok. They are knowing which game has been released when and how many users have already taken on it. When you're so connected, your fashion is connected as well. What you're wearing, whether it can happen at best at 60 days or 90 days or not,
Right.
you have to get it right 60 or 90 days right earlier. I'm not talking about a sci-fi movie over here, but what can you do to reach there 60 to 90 days earlier is something which you guys are also approaching in a different way, in a forecasting way. Not a different way, in the right way. So this is where AI walks in, and
Right.
we've not talked enough of it on the forum, but I'm not even talking about algorithms of predictive analytics or what can be a yes or a no in binary situation. What can you do in 60 to 90 days? It's not about Gen X and millennials' virality of a video or what will become viral and you want to predict it, but what will be the relevance in that shortest period of time that people will want to. It's not millennial flocking to a trend. It's about individual representation. If I'm confusing it a little more by saying further that only those people in that small window who've got the data right from all the aspects of sport, financial markets, entering of bank accounts, entering of which kind of digital games or social medias they're entering. And this data, unfortunately or fortunately, legitimately or illegitimately, has been collected for the last 30 years. And it's available. How much can you buy? How much do you want to collect yourself? And how much do you want to work on it is something which honestly Gen X will do, Gen Z will do more than anybody else. But those predictive models and those forecasting, including the rational and irrational part of quantities and so on and so forth, will have to come from there on which part. Another portion is the amalgamation of cultures. Culture is not just the digital culture, but let's say influence of the Korean culture on Indian culture today. Tomorrow it could be the Hispanic culture on Americans or the other way around. And how do you predict that coming into further more markets and whether it should? Today, these are distributed into small D2C brands. Somebody is doing a Korean trouser fit, somebody is doing a wide leg only, somebody is doing the best with white shirts, somebody is doing so on and so forth. But someday there will be a tipping point when all of this comes together from all of these markets of less than 10 crores or brands of D2C less than 10 crores into something mammoth.
Right.
And they will stand in front of Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, and so on and so forth brands and taking them on. So if we are not ready for that, then we are not building the muscle for Gen Z or Gen Alpha.
So you would
may
have
I-
to you
yeah.
would have to get into hyper-localization for that. You would have to
You will have
right
to get
for
into
the-
hyper-localization, but it's not important. The location is not important. The data is important. Where is it coming from? What do you want to do on that data for that location? So the brand remains the same. The ethos of what is the Indian Gen Z influence in India, in Nagpur versus in Bombay, may be the same. But can it be different in Bangalore at a certain season? It may not be legacy-wise there. That's my opinion on it. Second part is, or don't want to call it second part, but another version of this is that there is always certain things which don't change over a period of time, and I'm a firm believer of that. So a lot of people get swayed by the factor that so much is going to change and I'll have to start changing myself from tomorrow. I'll start dyeing my hair probably, but that's not going to change
10 minutes to
everything
go.
that I can do.
Sorry, 10 minutes to go.
Okay.
Surely. So I will cut it short to whatever level it can be on this aspect. But I would say looking good doesn't go out of fashion. I want to look good. Gen Z would want to look good. Gen Beta will want to look good. In whatever way of looking good will change. Good quality is timeless. And when you say that making of a good design is timeless, there is nothing beyond that. You need to see what is the relevance. And if you chase what is relevant for today may not be relevant tomorrow. But if you keep moving on the relevance stairs upwards, you are on the right track and you stay cool forever. In all of this, what is relevant is saving the earth. What is relevant is being environment friendly. What is relevant is being inclusive. In Calvin, we own the Pride parades across all European cities and American cities, and we'll soon bring it to Bombay as well.
Right.
It's not about making a capsule and encashing it. It's about standing on the inclusivity and spending not just money, but bringing them together and making them open about it across. In Tommy, we are doing a lot of creators coming together from the under-impoverished zones, and we've taken them, in fact, to NIF Delhi to do certain things in India, versus in New York, we've taken them into the special stands in the Fashion Week.
Okay.
So I will stop over here due to the paucity of time,
Yes.
but the only message I would leave is that there's a lot that continues as a principle and the values, which can always be a building block for any and every generation.
Right, right. Very interesting. Well, we will continue with this because we have Shubhi here from Ralph Lauren, and I think she can add to this conversation.
Certainly, Kanika. I'll try not to repeat what has already been discussed. I think for us, Ralph Lauren, over 50 years old, American lifestyle brand, and here we are talking about Gen Z and Alpha. So two different parts of the game, and I think as a brand, we started addressing this a couple of years back, where we thought at it at two level, and when I'm saying we, it is the global brand that I'm representing right now and talking about, is how do we get the right kind of products for this audience? That was the first question.
Right.
It is an American classic heritage brand, but a couple of seasons back, we started doing something called as a next generation range,
Okay.
which comes every season. So it's a smaller part of the overall range, but it's there.
When you say next generation, it can be any next. So, for example, when Gen Alpha comes in, it'll be that next.
Absolutely.
Right.
And this is an internal title that we have where we are saying that where, let's say, 60-70% of the range is going to be classic heritage, you know it. But there is a small portion where we are trying with whatever, let's say, is on fashion, whatever silhouettes are working. So it's a mix of that.
That's very interesting. So you're always prepared for the new coming generation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's one way how we have our products addressing this situation. Apart from that, very quickly, couple of things as a brand that we do is giving back to the society.
Right.
And this I'm talking about largely from Gen Z and Alpha's point of view, where we have a range which whatever revenue we get out of it globally goes back for cancer treatment and prevention.
Okay.
So whatever revenue we get, nothing comes to us. It
Is
goes
this
there.
publicly spoken? Is
Public,
it something?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So this initiative is driven from the New York office by Mr. Ralph himself. That is one part. Second thing is, in the product itself, there's a lot of sustainable fabrics, upcycle, recycle trims that we are using.
Right.
And this started about soon after COVID, so I would say 3 years back, since we have it as a part of the range. So for our brand, it is a mix of both. How do we show these things in our range, as well as the larger theme. And interestingly, for the last 1 year, one of the key pillars of our marketing message, and of course, we are from the industry, so we know the message might change, but the pillar has been that how do we give back to the society.
Okay.
And we have these conferences where globally all the countries come together. So when we go from India, we share that what is it that we are doing. But that is one of the key things that we do. So yeah, these are, I would say, 2-3 things which are not overlapping with what my co-panelists have already shared, that Ralph as a brand we are doing.
Very interesting.
4
Thank you
minutes
so
to
much
go.
for sharing. Okay, so this is actually the most important piece, because we have Neetu here, who's actually started a brand in India. So it made complete sense to hear her out. So where all the vis-a-vis the international brands, we have something that has got its genesis right here. So Neetu, do tell us your story.
In 4 minutes.
We're going to request for a little more, and hopefully they'll give.
Sure. So when you start building a brand, right, grounds up, we started that in April of last year. And of course, the audience that we kept talking to, and I'll tell you how the millennials were saying and what the Gen Zs were saying, because both of them are like super important for us. First, of course, we will have to sort of define your niche. So we said that, okay, we are going to be Asian fashion, truly Asian fashion. We will fuse between, what the countries are selling and create this fashion. And so we said, authenticity is really true. I mean, in today's clutter,
Very
you have
important.
to be authentic.
Right.
People have to relate to what you're saying. Google, right there, they can re-verify and verify. So, I actually spent 40 days in Japan. Just try to understand, what Japanese have to say, what Indians have to say, how will you fuse it after, creating a brand in India. When you take it there, how valid, not valid it is going to be. So here are some of the things what between India and Japan, what millennials said and what Gen Z said. Name, Sands of India. Sands of India, the Indian millennials like, ethnic hona chahiye. How will you create a Western brand, which you want to take to other parts with Sands of India? Japanese said that Sands of India, no quality. India, Japan, very high quality. So, yeah. And the Gen Zs were very different. They said, why not?
Oh, lovely.
They
That's
were
so good
like,
to
why
know.
not? We will relate to it. And I spoke with, quite a few people. It was a research. And then I said, okay, let's go for it. It is Sands of India. And that's how, the differentiating values sort of came through. Then while we started building the products, etc., of course, the Indian design, and I have, for design and marketing, I have Gen Zs, and I hear them completely, And so...
That's a wise thing to do.
yeah, of course, I have to just shut my mouth and just listen to
Right.
them. And again, very, Indian design versus Japanese design. It's like what I'm wearing right now. This is a Japanese silhouette with Indian embroidery at the back.
Oh, nice.
Right? So, it evolved. All of that came through. Now, Gen Z, right? The span of attention is, what it is. So when we actually created a tag which spoke about the brand, and we wrote, and it was it was about 10 lines on a tag, to which, some people said, who's going to read so much? I mean, just write the 3 lines what you stand for. So I actually changed it. Then the video content, right? And I'm like, include this also, include that also. And they're like, 5 seconds, attention span, 5 seconds. Create a video which will attract people for, 5 seconds you should be able to,
But that's true for the generation.
that's true for the generation, but all of these things are coming through very cleanly. So as we said, they are not very massy. They want to see something individualistic. The brand has to vibe with them, whatever.
Yes.
And that vibing you have to understand, so that authenticity has to be communicated in 5 seconds. And so we try to do all of that. I have a very good team. Of course, I bring all the wisdom. And Gen Zs tell me, on these fronts, this is what we do. So what I'm trying to say is, it is a cluttered world. Define the niche. Make sure you stay authentic. Of course, today, probably the t-shirt that I buy from the vendor Zudio is selling it on MRP. So, if you're saying sustainability, if you're saying all of that, how do you sort of ensure that everything on the product, the pricing. So today our pricing is largely for the millennials. But what I am seeing really, now that we are selling the products, it's that Gen Z is buying it. So we have a lot of Excels going off. And in fact, we started these Korean skirts. So, and some of them are like short skirts. And, me being me, size ratio S, M, L, XL, 1, 2 to 1. And then wow, everything L is out.
Wow.
So you see body positivity, confidence. Gen Z doesn't care.
That's so true.
Things have to change. The assorts have to change. The size ratios have to change. You have to rethink. You have to unlearn and understand how to vibe with them and all of that. So there is a lot of positive change.
Right.
But there is a lot of unlearning. And there is an infusion of authenticity. If you try to be like everywhere, I don't think that in the coming times that would stand, right? So the timelessness of, the quality, etc., the authenticity, if you're saying sustainability, because these words are just being used everywhere, right? But these guys check it out. They say that,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's not that you've said it and we believe you. Right. They don't. My kids don't believe me. They Google. They believe Google. So that's what it is. That's what Gen Z is. That's how we sort of attract. I see a lot of brands actually selling very body-showing products for the Gen Zs, thinking this is young crowd, shoulders, etc., everything. But a lot of Gen Zs actually don't like it. I have seen a big cohort saying, "Nah, I'm not going to wear this. I'm good in my oversized tees, and I'm good in these pants which are, wide-legged, etc., etc." They're very, very happy. So where do you go when you say Gen Z? Is it this or is it that? Do they think this or do they think that, right?
It is.
So, yeah. So all I'm trying to say is stay authentic to what you are.
Right.
Just communicate it in 5 seconds and wipe it.
Okay. I'm sorry, we are totally short on time, so we will have to wrap it up. I think there is so much more to get into. But I think the biggest learning is that we have learning to do. There is something that we are being taught. This generation is not accepting the way things were. We have to learn. And we have to learn in response to them. And yes, that's how we're going to be able to make it. We have to stay real, right? Yeah. So yeah. And I would say #stay woke. All right. Thank you so much.